Order, order, order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Stark took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gunt, please say something. I believe your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Wright, but I am having lunch with the district attorneys general after this. We have to get going if we are to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier. A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. Huh? I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Sky dispose of his body? Do I have any concrete proof? Ich glaube, in dem Fall haben wir tatsächlich kein Proof. It's no use showing evidence. I'm not sure of myself. No, Your Honor, at present, I have no conclusive evidence. Huh. See you, G? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, RJ, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior office in our nation's law enforcement agency. What? Lady Luck, huh? Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth, another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions. Raised in this trial, someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Huh. Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls for... Der letzte Zeuge in diesem Spiel. The defendant. Miss Lana Sky. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Huh, Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to... Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Ah, this is good. Of course you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe? I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Ah, don't worry, I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Could he mean Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gun's done it again. How is he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Huh, settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. Let's Play Markus! Dankeschön für deinen Host, Mann. Ich hoffe, du hast einen schönen Stream. Wir sind gerade am Ende unseres wundervollen Phoenix Wrights Marathons im letzten Fall. Und wir sind kurz vorm Ende. Ich hoffe, ihr hatten alle einen schönen Stream. Liebe Zuschauer von Markus. Und Dankeschön auf jeden Fall für den Host. Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Is this Lana? Nein, Emma. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery, so she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time my sister was being blackmailed by a terrible man, and she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean, to follow Chief Gan's orders? She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Und jetzt kommt wirklich der Schluss. Okay, wir haben es leicht geschafft, Leute. Casual 6,5 Stunden Stream. Wir haben es leicht geschafft. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you're the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. Gant and the fabrication. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmailing theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convinced. It had nothing to do with Emma. Huh. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana... If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffy like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it, period. Are you sure? Are you so desperate to hide the fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Okay. My only motivation was to get Dark convinced. It had nothing to do with Emma. Ist das der Zeitpunkt, wo ich jetzt dieses Stück Cloth zeige? Anscheinend nicht. I tried. Okay, dann machen wir das alte Prozedere. Und drücken erstmal alles. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would have been 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good, coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And... Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I will never change the statement. You mean, Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found the scene like that, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound, and then you moved the body? But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of the others. Why did you plan to move? Why did you move the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it. It was where you deduced it. It was where you deduced it was by Chief Gunn's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the event threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had already been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during that struggle. I see. What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there is more into that. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. The pieces of the jar that... Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Order. Order. Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in dark as we are about the truth towards which we are headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We will piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony. Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think of or about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier. It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case, but not as feeble as a judge's judgment. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe? You didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces. Normally, I would have. Kryptogladi! Dankeschön für den Wright. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you'd do that for me? It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened. What do you mean? If you really thought Drake... Oh, ich was think. Drake, guys, Drake. You used to call me on my cell phone. If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. It was all God's plan. Yo, gute Nacht, Kryptogladi. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol whenever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt, this way will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office. More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this right way. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. I immediately noticed the blood trace on the jar. When it was dark in the room, I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got all of them. Miss Guy, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about the final piece. There was still blood on it. But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off them. Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. you weren't the first one. But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. That may be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Ha! Can you believe that? Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that! There's no way a name could have been written on the shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you are not implying this person was Chief Gant. At that time he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was the first, why would he break... The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide the fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can't you answer us that? No. No. Judge breakdown, guys. Judge breakdown. Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hit. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hit one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would the chief? Why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? What happened afterwards? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the chief's puppet. Oy. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Wait a minute. What if we are still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, right? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. Alright, the witness may testify once more for the final time. Alter, Annie, hau raus. Konntest du dich steigern? Bist du jetzt Silber geworden? Wir sind alle gespannt. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor sword. Ganz genau 1000. Egal, jetzt kannst du ja bleiben. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please, present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check the evidence again. There must be a picture in somewhere.